viewing angles on this TV are just terrible. I mean, that whole picture's washed. See, from the side, you still have a decent picture. Down here, it's washed. All right. So if I go into picture settings, right? Like, comment, subscribe. You want to save money on the best tech. Value tech sense. Value tech sense. Welcome to another video. I'm gonna get right into it. I've been using this TV for a few weeks now. I've watched several movies, I've watched TV shows, and I've played games on it. So I will get into the THX gaming in another video. This video is purely dedicated to the black crushing issue with this TV. Alright. On a good note, I'll start with the positives. The TV does produce a sharp picture. Alright, it's very sharp, a little over sharp, but it is a very sharp, very clean, very crisp picture. It's also a very deep, and it has a lot of depth to it. It has a very contrasty look. Alright, so for a lot of people that's going to look really good, okay? Especially if this is the only TV that you have, or if it's your first 4K TV, you'll be very excited about what you see from it. But coming from someone who, you know, wants to get the best picture quality, I mean, I put this TV beside my M8 Vizio from last year, and my M8 just does a better job with the shadow detail. This TV does crush the blacks. There's no other way to put it. But a lot of people like to show this demo in videos, you know, and demos are cool, man. I mean, a lot of people like to show off demos. Nobody gets together for family night to watch 4K demos, okay? But they are a good way to, you know, show off what the TV can do. You know, if you want to just like look at something extra in 4K. But even in these demos, the blacks are crushed. And I'm going to show you how that translates to when you're actually watching movies, and you're actually watching real content, where it's going to be difficult to unsee what you're about to see, okay? And then the backlight has issues to where the local dimming is so aggressive that when you're watching a movie, you can actually see the whole backlight darken the whole picture, and then brighten up the whole picture, then darken the whole picture, then brighten the whole picture. I really can't show you that without showing you an actual movie, but I'll try to show you that in this video the best that I can. But it is distracting, and you know, something else that I personally can't deal with when I'm trying to watch a movie, with the backlight brightening up and dimming down where I can see it. It should be a smooth transition. But this TV wants to be dark so good, wants to do darks so bad that, you know, it's just not ironed out. You know, it might be something that they could fix in a firmware update. I'm not willing to wait for that. But anyway, let's get into the video. So this demo right here, right, I'm just going to start playing it. A lot of people like to show this off. All right. I'm just going to pause it right there. Now, if you look at this image right here, it does look very good. It's a very contrasty image. You can see the stars in the background. But in those areas where those stars are, the local dimming wants to be so dark that you're actually missing out on a lot of detail. So what I'm going to do real quick, all right, I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to get my M series in the shot. All right, just going to hit power on my M series. As you can see, right, there are a lot of stars missing in that scene. if I go into the picture settings on this TCL, you'll see I have it in the brightest picture. So I mean, that's bright, that's normal, that's dark, that's darker. That's just gonna make it a more darker picture. So I have this TV as on brighter, as bright as it can go. I have it on the bright HDR. Now I can change that to normal, doesn't help it. I can change it to dark HDR, does not help it. So I just put it on, that's the gaming one, but the THX certified. But let's go back to bright HDR. Picture settings, I have local contrast on high. All right, that's medium. It definitely brightens up the background. All right, it brightens up the whole image when you put it on medium. But you're gonna lose your blacks. All right, I'll show you that when we switch over to the movies. But you will lose your blacks if you don't have this on high. Let's go back to picture settings. I put that on low. It just brightens up the whole screen. So it will take away some depth from your picture, and it will take away from your blacks. But you put that on high, you're gonna get the deepest blacks at the cost of some shadow detail. All right. Backlights all the way at 100. Now if you go in here and you start messing with the brightness, and you can lift it, but when you lift it like that, you see you're not gaining any stars. You're just losing your shadow. You're losing your black level. So I don't recommend using the brightness on this. And oddly, the contrast is on 100. Now that's just weird in itself, to have contrast all the way on 100. I don't really know what. I don't know how you have your contrast on 100 and it doesn't affect your picture and start clipping your highlights. You should be able to go in there and adjust your contrast and your brightness to get the brightest picture. But I really think that this TV is kind of like for someone that doesn't mess with picture settings. Somebody that just wants to go in and, just wants to go in, use the TV without having to mess with picture settings. I'm a picture settings guy. I like to go in and dial the TV in, so yeah. M8 on the top, TCL on the bottom. So it's a very contrasty picture, but it does crush the blacks. All right, so it's my 2019 M Series Quantum M8 on top, and this TCL on the bottom. So it definitely has a saturation of color. All right, this TV really pushes out the color, and it really pushes out the it's a very contrasty picture. So you do get depth, and you do get decent black levels, but it's at the cost of your shadow detail. And I'm gonna switch from this, and I'm gonna go over to a movie and show y'all how that will affect you when you're watching normal stuff and not demos. All right. This stuff is cool when you first buy a TV, but when you actually sit down and you say, hey, let's watch a movie, you're not going to be watching this type of stuff. So let me show you what you can expect from this TV when you're watching a movie. Okay, so this is a scene from the Bird Box. This is actually a shadow detail scene, but the TCL on the bottom, the M8 from last year, 2019, is on the top. In this scene, the M8, though it's a 600 nit TV, and the TCL is a brighter TV, right? The M8 right here looks brighter. All right, it looks brighter. It's not a brighter TV. It just looks brighter. But the thing about the M8, it keeps this same look throughout the entire movie. Now what this TCL does, and I'm just going to have to show you freeze frames to show you this. When there's a darker type of scene, the entire backlight will dim the picture, and that's what's distracting about it. So I'm going to go from this straight to another scene that's probably a few seconds after this to show you the TCL actually become brighter than the M8. All right, so that backlight gets bright, gets dark, gets bright, gets dark, but the M8 just keeps its same brightness level because the local dimming is not that aggressive to where it darkens the whole picture. All right, so let me go to the next little scene. All right, so as you can see right here, the TCL on the bottom, it's brighter now. It's brighter than the M8 on the top. It's a much brighter picture. So when there's a highlight on the screen, or when it's there's brightness on the screen, the whole TV will get bright. The whole picture will brighten up. All right. The M8 on the top, it has its same look that it had before in the last scene. All right, but now the TCL is brighter than the one on the top. And because I can't play the movie, I'm just gonna play another scene. I'm just gonna let this play out, and I'm gonna pause it again, and my M8 is actually gonna be brighter than the TCL on the bottom. And that's the TCL's backlight getting bright, getting dark, getting bright, getting dark. And it is a very contrasty, sharp image, but it is distracting. All right, let me show you that, then we'll get to the shadow detail again. All right. Okay, right here. This is all the same scene. Sandra Bullock's face at the bottom on the TCL. See how dark it is? See how bright the M8 is? The M8 sustains its look throughout the entire movie. But the TCL, it has this light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. And you can see it like flipping on. You can see it. So when you're watching a movie, I mean, even though it looks good, all right, it does look very contrasty. It's very sharp. It's very saturated. All right, you do get that HDR pop, and the brightness, like the highlight brightness, it gets very bright on highlights. So you do get that HDR pop from the highlights, but the distraction is the backlight. All right, going from light to dark, light to dark. Now the M8's brighter than the TCL, and the TCL is the only one that's changing back and forth. All right, I'm going to play one more scene, then we'll move on to shadow detail. All right, so this is literally like a 1 second past what we just saw. And now the TCL is brighter, the M8 is darker. So there is just going back and forth like that. And this is all the same scene. If I could have just played this, you would actually see it on camera, brightening and darkening, brightening and darkening. All right, now let's get to the shadow detail. All right. All right, even though the M8 on the top is a 600 nit TV and the TCL gets much brighter, the highlights look brighter in this scene. And the only reason it looks brighter, like that background with the light at the top, and it actually looks brighter, right? And there's more shadow detail, but the only reason that happens is because the entire backlight is dim. So you can actually see more of the face. You can actually see more of the detail in the clothing on this particular scene. All right, I know I'm switching from part to part, but I can't play the movie, so I'm just gonna keep it moving, go to the next shadow detail part, and then I'll show you where the TCL shines with its brightness. Because when it chooses to be bright, it really punches out the brightness. All right, but in this scene, my M8 looks better. It looks better, it looks brighter. You can see the full image, all right? And it carries this look throughout the entire movie. The TCL really shines when there's a brighter scene, when there's something bright on the screen and that backlight kicks in and it's bright, and then you can see everything, all right? But when it decides to dim the picture down, that's when it starts to crush, all right? Let's move on to the next scene. This is a scene from Bright on Netflix, all right? Okay, so right here, M8 on the top. If you look to the left, I don't know how well you can see this on the camera, but the bricks, the paint on the bricks, the graffiti that's back there. It has a better, more contrasty look. From what I can see, it just looks better. But if you look to the right, the neons, the lights at the top, they punch better on the TCL at the bottom. And that's where that brightness kicks in. So it definitely gives you that HDR, because it gets very dark and it gets very bright. I'm going to show you on the next scene how much brighter it gets than the M8, but the M8 just looks better as an overall picture to me. If I'm watching it, it looks more HDR. Okay, the 6 Series looks good as well, but right there where his face is, under that hood, I can tell that his face is there, but I can just see more details in his face on the one on the top. And I know that's going to be very hard for you to see through a video, but trying to describe this as best as I can, all right? But that's where the TCL punches through with its highlights. And I'm going to go to this other scene where you can see how much brighter this TCL gets than this M8. All right. Okay, so right here, here's a scene when she knocks out the electricity on the light post. The brightness on the TCL is like off the chain. I mean, it'll blow you away how much brighter it is. So it definitely does punch when it needs to. But as far as like having a balance, like an overall balanced picture, right? If the backlight would stay bright instead of when it gets to a dark scene, if the backlight didn't actually dim down because of that local contrast being so high, it would actually be very impressive. I mean, it's an impressive picture, but it's very distracting, and it's just not buttoned up yet. It's not there yet. But it is a good TV for somebody. If you just got a first 4K TV, it's definitely a good price for a 120 hertz panel, and it's a good value. But as far as overall balance of your picture, you are going to miss some shadow detail, and that backlight is not consistent, but it definitely punches brighter. All right, I'm gonna show you a couple of more scenes, then we're gonna wrap this portion of this review up, because I got other things to talk about with this TV. That way you can decide if it's the right TV for you. All right, but right here you can definitely see how much brighter those highlights punch when it wants to get bright. It definitely pushes it out there. All right, so this is pretty much a few seconds after that scene when he hit the light. TCL it got darker again. I'm definitely seeing more. I'm seeing more details in his face, and it just looks like a better picture on my M8 than on the TCL in this particular picture. All right, I'm going to keep playing the movie. I'm going to go to the next part, and we'll try to wrap this up. All right, so right here, as you can see, the TCL looks much better than the M8 on top. It looks much better. So I don't know if it's a panel issue, or I don't know if it's just the way that they have their local dimming algorithm, but when the backlight is bright, the picture punches, the details are there. That's how much better of a picture it is when it punches. All right. Now I'm going to go to a scene not too far from here. When that backlight dims, it takes all of that away. And that's what's distracting about the TV. All right. All right. So this was literally like not even a second later. This is the same scene. Now the M8's brighter. Now the M8's brighter. It looks like a much better HDR picture than the one at the bottom. The one on the bottom actually just doesn't look that good. It looks more 2D than 3D. And that was like within a second, I really want to play this for you guys. I don't know if I'm going to play like 2 seconds. If I get if I get struck and I have to take this down, I'll just have to take this down and splice or edit that part out. But I actually want you to see this in real time, how this backlight just changes on the fly. And it's very noticeable, all right? So I'm just gonna play that little piece so you can see it change. All right, right here, man, I'm gonna take a chance on this. I'm gonna play this, and then I'm actually gonna slow it down so you can see it. But you can see that the M8 is punching more on the top, but the TCL, you're gonna see the backlight lift to brighten the picture. I think if it just stayed bright, it would it look fine. But let me play just a little bit of this. All right, I'm gonna pause it. I'm actually gonna replay that little part in slow motion so you can see how the backlight just lifts up the picture, but you can actually see that while it's playing. That's my thoughts about the black crush issue with this TV. It does crush in certain parts, and I think it's due to the backlight dimming down. When that backlight gets dim, it definitely lowers the picture, and you can't fix it in your picture settings. All right, you can't fix it. All right, so right there, the backlight is brighter. It's brighter at this point. All right, but if you want to keep your black bars, let me get this remote. Let me find it real quick. If you want to keep your black bars, right now the backlight is bright, so everything is showing up. But I'm gonna just scroll to another scene over here. All right, so here's one where the M8 on top looks better, all right? And the one at the bottom just looks washed. All right, it's losing, I mean, the details of even in the street, you can see how the water's on the street, how it's wet, and those little highlights that makes it look three-dimensional. Even the light at the top, the paint on the walls, it just looks better on the M8. But the problem is when you go into your picture settings, right? If you go in here, picture settings, if I take this local contrast down, it's gonna brighten up the whole image, all right? And that's how you lose your black bars. Let me zoom in on that. So, your black bars, right? Let me get close. Let me take this off of here, man. Try to show y'all as much of this as I can. So, those issues with the black bars being gray, as you can see, these gray black bars, your black bars, right now I have the local contrast set to off. So you can see those black bars in the flashlighting that everybody's talking about. Because the TV literally has poor viewing angles. So I mean, if you're directly in front of it, you know, it looks very good. If you come off to the side, you can definitely see how the flashlighting that people are seeing. And that's the problem. It's supposed to be, you know, this TV won't do what an OLED can do. This wouldn't matter on an OLED. So that's why it's something to point out. All right, you can't keep throwing OLED around and it does this. OLED doesn't do this. But even on my M8, you see how it sustains its black bars at an angle. My black bars are gray. Off angle viewing, they are gray, but the viewing angles on this TV are just terrible. I mean, that whole picture's washed. See, from the side, you still have a decent picture. Down here, it's washed. All right. So if I go into picture settings, right? Let me zoom in. All right, let's go over here to picture settings, local contrast. Let's turn that up. Turn it up. Turn it up. See, there's your black bars. So So now that I have it on high, right? Now that I have it on high, we'll get rid of the menu. Now your black bars are there. Now your black bars are there, all right? So you turn it on high, your black bars will be there, but your picture is still washed. So when that backlight decides to dim the whole picture and you get that crush, you can't go into the picture settings and adjust your brightness, right? If I go in picture settings and I go down to brightness, once I start brightening this picture, you see those black bars? They're gone, right? And I've only moved it up five levels from 50. So, I mean, you really can't adjust your brightness. You can't adjust it. You can't lift this image. You can't lift it at all because there went your black bars. Black bars are gone. All right, so if you want to keep your black bars, you really can't really make too many adjustments to this TV to fix the black crushing. It's not too many adjustments you can make. So I'm going to take this brightness back down to 50 where it is originally, and your black bars are there. And that's at the expense of having a duller picture when that backlight gets dark. See? Contrasty up top, washed out at the bottom. I can get down here on it. Here's this picture. There's that picture. You go off from the angle viewing, it loses its picture very quickly. So that's my first impression as far as the black crushing goes and the backlight. I think it's a backlight issue. I don't know if it's something they can fix in the in a firmware update, but that's what the TV is doing. All right, so this is what you can expect when you're watching movies. So if you got this TV in a room, somebody sitting over here, it's not gonna look the same as it looks somebody over here. All right, so that's the video, man. I got more videos on the way. We're gonna talk about the blooming in the next one and more on the angle viewing, all right, and how to get the most out of this TV. I'm actually gonna try to do a settings video as something that I would use if I were using this TV. I'll do a settings video as far as what I would keep my settings on to get the best out of it, but that's what you're looking at right now, man. So thanks for watching.